Welcome to the daily briefing from interest.co.nz. I'm David Chaston. Today we look at the level of public service staffing, we'll review the latest changes to our risk premium markers, and we'll update the regional economic growth trends. Finally, we'll wrap up with what the other media are reporting. As at the 30th of June this year, the total public sector employed 324,000 people. That represents about 15% of the workforce of 2.2 million. There are more than 200 organisations in the wider state sector. There are 18 SOEs, 126 Crown entities like the DHBs, and 35 departments in the core public service. Some of these organisations are enormous. The education system, for example, is just one of those 200 organisations, and they employ over 110,000 people. The core public service is that group of government departments includes the IRD, Corrections, and the biggest one of all, the Ministry of Social Development. These core departments are growing at a faster rate than either the wider public service or the workforce as a whole. They now number more than 42,000 employees. For example, the IRD grew 7% in the year to June. Corrections staff were up 13%. Social Development now has more than 9,000 people in its mega department. The Army, the police, all the schools and all the hospitals are not in the core public service. They are counted separately as part of the so-called wider public sector. Our risk premium benchmarks rose by the biggest single weekly amount since mid-August, when the heaviest bites of the international credit crunch were being experienced. In the past 4 weeks, the 1-year premium has risen more than 60 basis points and the 5-year by more than 50 basis points. Almost all this movement can be explained by the fall in US Treasury yields. Over the past year, yields on US Treasury paper have fallen by more than 100 basis points and now hover in the low to mid 3% range. They were last at this level in 2005 when the Fed was running a growth-focused low Fed funds rate of 2%. Our credit costs have a sovereign risk factor of about 4% built in. That is, the cost of money just because we're in New Zealand, plus a commercial risk factor of about 1.5%. That is the cost of money for being in the private sector. Individual borrowers will be charged premiums additional to this, based on the local and specific quality of their credit. Nationwide economic growth fell in the September quarter for the first time since June 2005, a report from the National Bank shows. While the South Island experienced a 0.2% increase in economic growth, the North Island decreased by 0.4%, creating a national fall of 0.3% in the latest quarter. This regional trends survey has Taranaki bucking the trend, recording the largest rise of 1.1%, the only region to record a back-to-back increase in economic activity for 2 quarters. Northland was the worst performing region with a drop in growth of 1.6%. Manawatu Wanganui was the only region to record successive declines in the September and June quarters. For the year-to-date, national economic growth looked a lot better and rose 2.6% in June to 2.7% in September. But again, it was regional New Zealand that is leading the way with stronger growth, and as you might expect, those areas with strong dairying are doing the best. And finally today, a wrap-up of some other items of interest. The financial markets are increasingly dominated by a new breed of highly mathematical traders known as quantitative analysts, or quants. While some celebrate the fact that empirical techniques are now applied to trading, others blame the quants for the current credit squeeze. You can read more on this story from the links on our news page. Creditors of the Australian part of Bridgecorp are to vote today on a management proposal that could see it start to pay off some of its debt. But the consequences could be more burden for the New Zealand part of the company. The receivers are not supporting that plan. You can get more news and start with Newsmaker Views on our news page. Join us again tomorrow for the freshest finance news on the web. We'll see you then.